All right, welcome back, everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 AI cast. Two robots gonna be fighting to the death for our amusement. And so we have got two bots here. I cast this guy in the previous match, PerilousProtoss bot PPB. And then just getting right to the point saying, roaches, it is Dovahkiin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, leave a comment down below. If I am pronouncing it right, leave a comment down below. Say more bots as usual, more boats, more bats, more bogs. I don't know. Anyway, so hit that like button if you haven't already, ladies and gentlemen. Make that a habit as soon as you load up one of these botcasts. Because presumably if you're watching them, you like them. Subscribe if you aren't. I'm doing these videos on the channel pretty darn regularly. Setting a goal of one video per member per month. Currently at 8 YouTube members. If you want to join that exclusive club, consider hitting that join button down below or using the link. You can get various perks, and it's a great way to support the channel. Enough of that. I try and get those spiels over with as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And we take a look at this game here. We have got Dovahkiin going for roaches, obviously. It said it was going for roaches, and I don't see why it would lie to us. Now, this second hatchery is going up, so it's not like a roach rush. We'll see how quickly these boys pop out. We saw the PerilousProtoss bot in the previous match. It is a very gateway-oriented, sort of slower expanding bot. Even got an idle probe, which is interesting. I wonder what the story is there. There we go, he's fixing that. I wonder what the logic is behind that, of having that just wait just a little bit. Anyway, Roach Horn is now on the way. So, I mean, while it's not the quickest Roach Horn in the world, it's still a pretty quick Roach Horn. We got to make sure we have that music going. An Adept is on the way behind this, a cannon going up at the top of that ramp for defensive purposes, making use of one of the static defense in the game. The static defense, if you don't want to do a bunch of programming to try and set up perfect defensive behavior, using static defense can kind of be less resource intensive way to get that job done. Saying, hey, why program my units to just run back and defend every little thing and try and do all the math involved in that? Just build a cannon and a battery, tell my bot to do that. That's not too difficult, and it's actually going for 2 cannons and a battery, interestingly enough. So I wonder what it's so scared of, or what the purpose is behind that. Anyway, we've got a couple of Adepts going up a sentry, so quite a ragtag group of units for the PerilousProtoss bot. Now, the 2 cannons and the battery should definitely help out when it comes to defending against roaches. Now, we did see the PerilousProtoss bot, the last time I cast it, was pretty darn slow when it came to expanding, so that kind of works out when you're defending, but at the same time, you're still setting your economy back quite a bit. I do wonder if the Adepts are kind of just this bot's default until it sees roaches, and then maybe it'll switch up to stalkers or that kind of thing. Anyway, more gateways going on up. Warp gate is done. So this is indeed a bot that does use warp gate. We've seen quite a few lower end Protoss bots that don't use warp gate at all. Of course, trying to program how to warp in, when to warp in, that kind of thing, is very difficult. So one way around that is not to do it. But the fact that the PerilousProtoss bot has had that work done does say something about its skill level. Or I guess not skill. It's just general level, because bots don't really have skill. They have set set parameters. I don't know how high their parameters. Who knows? Anyway, we've got a bunch of roaches now moving across the map, and when I say a bunch of roaches, I think 14 is definitely qualifies as a bunch. So here goes this line of blue crossing the map, Ancient Cistern for Dovahkiin, and now we'll see how well this ramp is going to hold. There was a sentry, so we'll see if that's going to be used at all, but the top of this ramp is actually an incredibly fortified position for the PerilousProtoss bot. Now, unfortunately, it's moving away from the top of that ramp, so that's not good. Adepts against roaches is very not good. We see burrowed roaches happening, so yeah, the PerilousProtoss bot is being pushed back, and there's no surprise there. These Adepts are shading to get away from the Roaches, but not the best trade here. In fact, 0 units should really die. Okay, a couple of Roaches are dying, not burrowing quite in time. A Twilight Council goes up, but no Roach Warren, or no Robo, pardon me, to detect these burrowed Roaches, so it's a defense from the PerilousProtoss bot. It's doing good with the unit positioning. The Roaches are taking their sweet time to attack on in, not really targeting the same unit all at once. But it's a bit of a mess. These cannons, however, are in range to detect some of these Roaches as they burrow, so it's a trade. The problem for Dovahkiin, though, or for the PerilousProtoss bot, though, is that it doesn't have another base up, whereas the Zerg has the 3rd base up. So that's not perfect. We see the Stalkers still shooting away, lasers going pew pew pew. That Roach must be out of the cannon range, as it hasn't been shot at all since it burrowed. So the Robo is about to finish up here for PerilousProtoss bot, so it will have detection to deal with these danger, I don't know, mushrooms, danger potato, the danger potatoes that are the Roaches hanging out in the ground. Anyway, so quite a skirmish to start things off. I do love to see bots open with such aggression, just a nice timing attack. Now, all of these Roaches will unburrow, then they'll probably reburrow as the PerilousProtoss bot stomps them back into the ground with the heel of its boot. But until an Observer is out, and there's the Observer, these Roaches will live on, but not for much longer, as they will all get cleaned on up. And it was a solid defense here from the red bot. A very committed defense, but a defense nonetheless. Better than any bot I could program could do. That's for darn sure. Looks like the Observer said, I'm gonna head out, as it's now chilling in the main base when it really needs to be with these units. And Immortals on the way. We'll see. What's this Observer doing? I wonder why it's hanging out back here. It's quite an odd place to put it. It's now grouping up with the army and gonna move out. Roaches pushing the front once again. Dovahkiin seems to be a bot that just continuously attacks, and this is a perfectly valid strategy. We've seen bots that do this with Roaches. We've seen bots that do this with Marines. We've seen bots that do this with Lings, and I mean, it does work out. If you steadily grow your economy and you're just trickling units across the map, eventually your trickle will turn into a flood as your economy grows and grows and grows. But Dovahkiin has stopped at 40 drones. It's not really squeezing out too many more. We'll see how that's going to work out as it's now transitioning into Zerglings. These Zerglings don't actually have speed, so slow Zerglings off very, very high mineral count, which kind of explains why it is making the Lings. It ran out of gas to make the Roaches, so it says, okay, make Lings. At least the programmer has thought of that. A lot of programmers would just say, only build Roaches when you got the resources to. Instead, Dovahkiin says, nope, out of gas, build some Slowlings, and many Slowlings it is. Ride for ruin and the world's ending. That's a Lord of the Rings reference there, as the PerilousProtoss bot is trying to hold on. There's no battery at the natural yet, and the Lings are actually probably better than the Roaches at this point, and they are really buffering for this Zerg force, so Protoss units getting surrounded. The Adepts are going to cut through some of the Lings. Looks like one of the Immortals almost goes down there, and it does, but still quite a good trade for the PerilousProtoss bot. But it's not about how good the trade is, it's about whether you survive, and the attack is not yet done as units are still coming on in here. Dovahkiin behind this has gone up to 60 drones. That's interesting. I kind of wonder if the bot author just programmed this in like increments of 20 sort of thing. Anyway, it's like these Roaches are being worked on. The Immortal just blasting everything away. How many kills does that boy have? 16 kills. That's quite a good number. The Observer is now in the Zerg side of the map, so that's got to come home, or another one's got to be made for these burrowed units. I can't even imagine the nightmare these programmers go through to try and program a bot to be like, yeah, there's a burrowed unit. Let's get my Observer over there, and then all the steps in between that. Anyway, so yeah, as I was saying, I kind of wonder if Dovahkiin works off like increments of 20, just the way the bot author programmed it, because I think its first Roach attack was off 20 drones. Maybe it was more, and then it was at 40, and now it's at 60. I wonder if it'll go up to 80 at some point, or whether that's just kind of a coincidence. Anyway, we see these roaches are unburrowing, still causing problems as they are reburrowing. They're slowly getting whittled down, as they don't always burrow in time, which seems to be quite a common thing amongst Zerg bots. Making the roaches burrow in time is quite difficult, you imagine. Now, I suppose, like, it's probably just off a health thing, like the roaches down to 20% health to make it burrow. In theory, you could make it, like, you should probably make it at least, like, well, it completely depends. I guess the best way to make it the most efficient would be to make it so that your roaches check how many units are around them and kind of sets the burrowed threshold there. Like, if, say, for example, there's 3 immortals within 10, I don't actually know what the in-game measurement of Starcraft is. I think it's like technically meters or something. But anyway, if it's within 10 meters, there's 2 immortals, maybe make your burrow threshold like 50%, and that might save some more of the roaches. Who knows? Anyway, these roaches are still just trickling on in here off the 60 workers, all the while Dovahkiin is slowly building on up. It's now getting up a Robo Bay. It's got a 3rd Nexus on the way. These immortals have got so many kills. The Zerg is just not trading out very well. I mean, it's killing off the odd unit here and there, but it really is just the odd unit. And it goes to show the multiple ways you can design a bot, and one of them is definitely the Zerg Flood, the Zerg Swarm. These immortals are on their way to +2 as well. They'll blast away more and more roaches as their upgrades get higher and higher. Like, the amount of damage an immortal does to a roach is just, it's just ridiculous. Fortunately for Dovahkiin, there is still no observer. Well, there's an observer now coming to the front. These roaches are also screwed now that that's coming up with this. No tunneling clause either, notably, for Dovahkiin, unlike a lot of other Zerg bots, so that is potentially where it could gain more efficiency, but you'll drive yourself crazy looking at all the ways you can potentially gain more efficiency when you're programming a bot. After all, there's only so many seconds in a day. 3rd base is now up for the PerilousProtoss bot, so its economy is growing. Slow and steady is this bot marching to the beat of its own drum. I know I'm really focused on the Protoss bot, but it has been the defending bot for the majority of this game. And oh, look at this, Dovahkiin does actually go up to 80 workers, so I think I'm onto something there with the bot author being like, yeah, 60 drones doesn't work, go for 80, I guess. That sort of thing. Anyway, so the PerilousProtoss bot is still building up, getting up more and more units. Blink's on the way, actually. I wonder if... I haven't actually seen this bot use Blink, I don't think, so that'll be interesting to see how well it utilizes that. A Disruptor's on the way, a 4th base is on the way. And just the efficiency of the PerilousProtoss bot is so huge. Dovahkiin would probably be better at this point, having some sort of mechanic to group up its roaches instead of just flooding on in like it is doing. And we have seen other bots do that. I can't remember which bot it was in one of the recent videos that had that awesome tunneling burrow. So, we'll see. But the way this game is trending, eventually the PerilousProtoss bot should win out. I mean, as Dovahkiin tries to expand, it may be more and more vulnerable, but look at this. Yeah, the roaches just trickling on in. It's like an arcade defense game. I don't believe Dovahkiin is one of the bots you can play on from SC or ES Champ, but there are bots you can play if you want to Google that. Join the Discord and ask about that. And I'll definitely be doing some videos of me playing against these bots. I can't believe this has been just non-stop attacking. 160 dead roaches, 64 lings, nothing else. Of course, more and more of those are dying as time goes on. And Dovahkiin does have a lot more resources at its disposal, but it's trading horribly inefficiently. It is getting like the odd unit here and there, so it's not a total wash, but it could at least do with like some upgrades. Like there's no armor, no attack for these roaches, all the while the PerilousProtoss bot is slowly getting upgrades. Dovahkiin, yeah, really could group up its units, but it's just doing its thing. Of course, it does have the roaches burrowing all over the place, so the PerilousProtoss bot's not perfect observer placement is going to allow this to be dragged out a lot longer before it can finally get an attack off, if it ever can. These roaches may just keep the red Protoss busy forever, and ever, and ever, and ever. Okay, so I think I'm going to fast forward this one just a little bit, as it is just a trickle of roaches non-stop. I can't believe this. This is ridiculous. Just little roach potatoes, just planted in the ground. Although I guess potatoes have stems, but not when they're planted right away. So. Anyway, it's just a scrap all over the place. Some immortals are starting to walk out a little bit far. Maybe too far, but probably not, as they're +2 immortals against 0 upgrade trickle of roaches, so they're probably fine. But we do see that there is just burrowed roaches all over the place, and they're not really being cleaned up super quickly. Resources lost, it's down 7,000 to 26,000. As we are up to 250 dead roaches. Hot damn! That is a lot of dead roach. Roaches, I mean, they are killing off like the odd zealot here and there. This immortal's lost its shields. I mean, this immortal could actually die here. Oh my gosh. Is it gonna die? A roach comes from the side. It's like that movie 8-Legged Freaks, just spiders jumping all over the place. I wonder if any of the Starcraft, well, not Starcraft knockoffs, but the Starcraft-inspired RTSs coming up will have like a spider race. That would be kind of cool. I mean, I'm making a big deal of the one immortal dying, or I guess the second one this game, all the while there's another 8 hanging out. We did see Blink get researched. I could look at some of these stalkers, but oh, there is actually Blink all over the place. Eventually, these bases are going to get real close to each other. Dovahkiin just hanging out. Up to its 80 workers trying to take all the bases, but the red Protoss is actually really getting in the face of this Zerg. Kills off one of the bases, actually. My golly, how did I miss that? The Protoss crossing the map, actually up on supply from the Zerg at this point. It's not fighting with 100% of its army, but it really doesn't need to, as we've seen so far. And I do think that the PPB is going to take this one. The roaches are pushing it on all fronts, but it's roach against immortal. You tell me how that works out. It's kind of a shame we never saw Dovahkiin go for more lings, as they kind of were effective, but it's actually got way too much gas at this point, and not enough minerals. The roaches pushing all over the place. What an interesting interaction between these bots. Leave your comment down below right now, guessing how many roaches have died this game, and then I'll check at the end. As, yeah, Dovahkiin does eventually run out of gas. PerilousProtoss bot built up a large enough count of units. I will say the unit splitting from the PerilousProtoss bot is good, that it doesn't just group up all of its units. It actually kind of has them in multiple fronts. Nothing is over until we decide it is. A bit ominous there. That is quite the Protoss force. +3 attack is being researched. More robos being built, because why not? And, yeah. Protoss does take the space that the Zerg took. Another forge goes up, or is going to go up at some point. I'm not going to check how many roaches have died. There was one roach on the map. It's just got deleted. And I think that's probably the last of the roaches. So we can check how many roaches have died this game. Drum roll, please. I'm going to go ahead and say 432. That might be a bit high. 392. I wasn't too far off. I was definitely a little bit high, but almost 400. GG. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning in.